I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on.
This is why the scripts are so bad. This is how you get She-Hulk, bro. This is how you get the destroyed Star Wars shows. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for this episode, we're going to have a bunch of women who call themselves witches birth children without sperm. I mean, it's gonna be so empowering. Qualified. Oh, that's unacceptable. No, we need to hire the disabled, overweight Indian woman to say that we're trying to make men uncomfortable with our new Star Wars movie. Yes, that's what we need. Yes, true. She's a boss queen. That's all that matters.
There's no way we're hiring a white male for. I mean, it kind of feels like at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of.
Yeah, no kidding. You're openly discriminating on the basis of race. But here's the thing: if any person were to bring a lawsuit inside Disney, their career would be over at Disney, because that would be really going against the hive mind. And now you're just a bad person forever. Oh my gosh, you're a monster. You're such a predator. You're so toxic. You really want to have your position based on things like merit and logic? Oh, so predatory. We're just going to be compassionate and virtuous while we're literally being evil. And they reject rationality, guys. They reject the ability to think. So there's no way back. In 200 years, I think about this all the time. General society is going to look back on these people who thought they were good and recognize them as mentally insane. They're broken. And they're going to realize that people like me, people like you, who can see them for who they are, were living in a world of tyranny. Now, there is this sense that accountability is possible to bring against leftists in the form of public shaming, because X is a free platform and we're no longer beholden to the censorship regime that existed pretty much as a monolith across social media before it. Even the fact that ideas are freely exchanged on X is a bit of a counterweight against YouTube and maybe even Facebook, because they know that if they double or quadruple down on their censorship, they will lose market share. But speaking of losing market share, white men have been losing market share in the decision-making of Disney, which of course is extremely fitting considering the total, and I do mean total, abominations that have been coming out of that company recently, especially with Star Wars, a franchise that I've loved since I was 6 years old. It's gotten to the point now where the episodes they release are like groups of women who who are witches in Star Wars. Apparently they're now witches, and they create children through lesbian relationships and black magic. That is now apparently Star Wars, but it makes more sense when you understand the general ethos that is taking place at that company and the aversion to anything that would be accountability, coherence, objectivism, because all of those things remind them of masculinity, which of course is toxic and unacceptable. By the way, if you enjoy masculinity holding degenerate leftists accountable, you will love the last 3 or 4 videos that I've released. So go check those out after you watch this. And be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video, guys, because that really helps more people discover this. And recently, a lot of very based people have been discovering this channel, which I'm very happy about. So undercover investigator for Project Veritas has exposed a vice president and team lead of the Walt Disney Company, where he admitted to her that they do not hire white men. Full stop. They just discriminate. They just violate discrimination laws. That is what they do at a company that is worth $186 billion.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken.
Bro, look how shameless this is. Also, I will say it's kind of questionable that this guy is on a date with a woman, if you know what I'm saying. Keep in mind, this is what passes for a competent corporate type man at the top of a food chain. This is what that constitutes at a place like Disney. Senior vice president. This guy's probably making more than $500,000 a year, maybe more than $1 million. And he's admitting on camera they openly discriminate racially.
But
How would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male for.
And then they just look at you and smile. Exactly, because they expect to hold the virtue no matter what. Because according to the left, this is very important you understand this. According to the leftist ideology, virtue is garnered by the identity of the speaker, not by the quality of the ideas themselves. This is also the reason why they don't engage in logic or reason and rationality, because those mechanisms reveal the quality of an idea. And it presumes that the person speaking it is responsible for the merit, the intrinsic merit of the idea, and that they must be an individual rather than adhering to a group membership, rather than throwing away their personhood for a some sort of amalgamated group identity where you're given good person status just as a part of being part of the club. Guys, it's a cult. They consider themselves good people just as a result of being a part of the left. That is ultimately dangerous because they're not engaging in the true framework of merit in morality and rationality. They reject all of that. This is the core tenets to Marxism.
Like straight to you, or okay.
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
They'd be very careful how they message that to outside people who are not employed by Disney, because that would bring in what? Accountability. Accountability reminds them that an individual identity exists, because in order to be accountable for something, you have to be an individual to take responsibility. And that is untenable because they've rejected the individual identity. They've said, no, my identity is that of a group identity, which gives me status and virtue. Therefore, I don't have to make sense. I don't have to think. I don't have to engage in logic, reason, rationality, virtue, ethics, any of that. That is the position of the left-wing ideology, and we must wake up to the fact that that is the type of person we're doing battle with here.
According to these videotapes, Disney blatantly discriminates against whites, white men in particular.
I think I'm sort of like well prepared for it. I'm well positioned for it. But as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male. That's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
This is what they call virtuous, guys. This is what they consider to be their good person matrices. Oh my gosh, no, we have to hire the black woman who's a lesbian. Is she disabled? Even better. And then you get moments like that woman on stage at Disney talking about Star Wars saying their goal was to make men uncomfortable. Or we get the degenerate actor saying, yeah, our goal is to piss off white people. This company is openly doing warfare against people who can think. They're doing warfare against sanity because the left is at war with objective reality and all coherent parameters. And they're openly a co-opted arm for left-wing propaganda. They're not entertainment companies. They're admitting this to you. Well, not voluntarily, but they're admitting it.
As a white guy, even Michael has his own doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney. In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for the shop.
Full stop. They openly discriminate. Disney is discriminating for the left. These people call themselves inclusive. They call themselves tolerant, and they are literally racially discriminating against people. Guys, this has been going on for a long time, just generally in the culture, in terms of people considering themselves to be good people for this. In my long career of playing violin, I played violin for 13 years at a pretty high level. I was given opportunities because on a piece of paper, I could say my grandpa was from Mexico. Literally, I was offered opportunities that other people did not have as a result of that. And anytime I would try to broach the subject, ask people about that, it'd be like, oh, well, why are you asking about that? Why? I mean, we're being good people here. Why are you raising the issue? We're the good guys. This is how they think. They're ultimately narcissistic individuals. They say they're tolerant while they ban people and censor people and call themselves good people while they do it. The left is a cult of lies. It's a club of anti-truths where people have to submit to the ideology that wipes away their ability to think and ravages their cognitive faculties.
That's not what they want.
They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
We wanted to
Whoa. What?
hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, we're not, that's not what's wanted.
That's not what's wanted. An executive said this at Disney. These are the people that are ruining Star Wars. These are the people that are making episodes where lesbian witches get together and use the force to birth children because you don't need no man. That's oppressive. These are the people that send a fat Indian lady to sit on stage for a Star Wars conference and say, our goal was to make men uncomfortable. They are ultimately judged by reality. They feel enraged constantly because when you're part of the left, you're reminded that you're a freak. You're reminded that you're wrong. You walk outside. You see that men are taller than women. You're reminded that your ideology is fraudulent. You get upset and you're constantly triggered. So you do what? Warfare with reality, and you ruin things like Star Wars for the rest of us. I don't consider anything after, oh my God, The Last Jedi to even be a Star Wars movie. It's just a complete joke. These people's decision-making processes have been corrupted. They can't make good decisions. As a matter of fact, even worse, they're completely aligned against making good decisions. Because good decisions is giving into the patriarchy. These are the kind of people we're doing battle with, guys. This is the new movement. The movement being resisting them. Like the video. Guys, like the video.
Right. They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way. and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting.
Right, exactly. They want diversity, but not diversity of thought, not diversity of intellect. You have to have a monolith, because if you step out against the ideology, you're now a bad person. Because you can't. So, okay, let me explain this in a way that is very succinct. If you disagree with the radical left and still consider yourself a good person in their circles, which I've done before, you're reminding them that the quality of their ideas is what matters and not the identity of the speaker. And when you do that, like I've done many times in the radical left-leaning high school that Elon Musk sent his kid to, that turned his kid from a him to a her, they get upset, they get uncomfortable, they get annoyed, and sometimes they get enraged because you're reminding them how the ideology is fraudulent. And there's no way to come back from that because they've thrown out reason and rationality, so they can't debate, they can't explain to you why it's correct. All they can do is call you a bad person. This is the nature of their ideology. This is the architecture of it. I'm revealing it to you here.
I mean, it kind of feels like at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of.
Yeah, no kidding. You're openly discriminating against on the basis of race. But here's the thing: if any person were to bring a lawsuit inside Disney, their career would be over at Disney. They would not have any more opportunities, because that would be really going against the hive mind. And now you're just a bad person forever. Oh my gosh, you're a monster. You're such a predator. You're so toxic. You really want to have your position based on things like merit and logic? Oh, so predatory.
And that is a lawyer talking. So how does Disney explain pushing these discriminatory practices? They use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there's acceptable code words and buzzwords.
Correct. The left uses purposefully oblique terms, vague terms, to avoid having to wade into that pool that we call logic, rationality, and accountability. Oh, we're just going to be inclusive, while we do the opposite of being inclusive. We're just going to be compassionate and virtuous, while we're literally being evil. And they reject rationality, guys. They reject the ability to think. So there's no way back.
They're used to explain what they're looking for.
We're looking at insane people, guys. This is literally, like, in 200 years, I think about this all the time. General society is going to look back on these people who thought they were good and recognize them as mentally insane. They're broken, and they're going to realize that people like me, people like you, who can see them for who they are, we're living in a world of tyranny.
They might say something like, look, we're not looking at like the usual suspects.
We're not looking at the usual suspects, right? Because the usual suspects are the white people. Oh, they're the straight men. They're the ones that are truly qualified. Oh, that's unacceptable. No, we need to hire the disabled, overweight Indian woman to say that we're trying to make men uncomfortable with our new Star Wars movie. Yes, that's what we need. Yes, true. She's a boss queen. That's all that matters.
This job. So it's like not like a legally actionable thing, but everybody knows what it means.
You're expected to adhere to the cult. You're expected to adhere to the tyranny. They're running a tyranny, and this is a microcosm. I know, Disney's worth $186 billion. But it's still a microcosm. This is a microcosm of how the left everywhere operates. They're expected to adhere to the same line. Disney didn't create this. Disney, this spirit of Marxism has infiltrated Disney, but it's everywhere. It's in every corporation. Almost every corporation, not X, not Elon's companies, not the companies of base people, but most of them.
They, for writers and actors, you hear all the time, like, I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on.
This is why the scripts are so bad. This is how you get She-Hulk, bro. This is how you get the destroyed Star Wars shows. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for this episode, we're going to have a bunch of women who call themselves witches birth children without sperm. I mean, it's gonna be so empowering because we don't need the patriarchy. Yeah, they're gonna love this. We got 16% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's just oppression. Ignore those are predatory, toxic incels that are disagreeing with our narrative. Oh my god, bro. They're going to buy cats. They're going to buy cats and die alone. But before they do that, they're going to ruin Star Wars. Do you see why I'm making this video? Subscribe to the channel, dude. That's not even what matters, because these people are serving something that is far more sinister than money. As a matter of fact, the people that are making these calls don't care about the stock price at all, because they're willing to sacrifice anything on the altar of the leftist ideology of Marxism, of the resentment for reality the left holds. That's really what makes them dangerous, is because they reject rationality, they reject reason, They reject the notion of objective merit, because the only way you can have merit or be a good person is to be a part of their club, and they're willing to sacrifice anything on the altar of their ideology, including love from the fans, including criticism, including even a failing company, dipping stock price. You saw this with Target. They ultimately started to feel the pain, but the pain didn't come from us decreasing the market cap of Target by $14 billion, whatever. I mean, you really think that's what made a difference? What made a difference is us being disgusted by them and mocking them personally. As soon as they were seen as frauds and we couldn't be won over by people calling us bad people because Dylan Mulvaney is a man, then that changed everything. It's not that we win them over, it's that we correct them with shame because they can't be reasoned with. They throw out reason and rationality. They can only be exposed as frauds, and that is the most brutal way to learn, but that's the only way they even learn. Really, it's not learning because they're psychopathic, and psychopaths don't learn. They're only held accountable, and then they calculate, can I get away with this? So they're just calculating, can we get away with this? And they think that they can. But of course, you know, a lot of unpredictable things can happen like this. And my generation, Gen Z, which is completely asleep because their brains have been wrecked. They've given in. They've taken the easy path. Many of them have taken the easy path, I'll be honest, of just calling themselves good people as a result of being leftists, and they're not ready to wake up, but they have to be forced to be woken up because they're just walking mind slaves. And while on one hand it does make my competition very easy to dominate because it's easy to stand out against a bunch of people who can't think, I am worried for the future. So help share this video.